Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla News, episode 299. So we hear a lot about how Tesla and EVs in general don't see great demand, but the facts tells a different story. And European car manufacturers are forced to pay huge fines because they cannot reach their CO2 emission targets. And we have yet another study to put in the pile of studies that shows that BEVs are better than ICE cars when it comes to CO2 emissions. And while Tesla is setting new records, the legacy automakers and the Chinese are losing billions of dollars. And even the Japanese are very impressed with Tesla's full self-driving supervised. And Tesla is getting their supply chain ready for the Optimus robot ramp of production. All of this and much more in today's episode. Let's dive right in.
Let's put our living stereo stylus in this groove.
So we often hear that Tesla and EVs in general don't see great demand, but the facts tells a different story. So Tesla is back at the top of the sales chart with their Model Y in Europe. So as predicted, the Model Y is back at the best-selling car overall in Europe in September after the production and inventory ramp. It's almost like stopping production of the world's best-selling car that stands for 65% of Tesla sales, and having to ramp that back up again had something to do with Tesla's drop in sales in Europe. Hard to take anyone serious anymore talking about demand problem when Tesla has the best-selling car in Europe once again. As Jeff also wrote on X, I kept being told by people who knew nothing about supply chain that the new Model Y wasn't selling in Europe and there was plenty of supply. Even when I went into various European zip codes and tried to find the car in inventory and could not, they still didn't believe it. What really happened is it took a period of time, arguably too long, to get the new Model Y in full distribution and the old model cleared off the channel. Now that it is in full supply, it's the #1 selling vehicle. Not surprising because it is the best. Yes, but it is not only in Europe. In China, the Model Y also was the best-selling car in the country in September. The biggest and most competitive market on the planet, and Tesla's Model Y was the best selling. What a demand problem Tesla is seeing. And if we look at the demand for BEVs in general, because I still see people saying BEVs will never go anywhere. Well, Alex shared some stats from Germany as he wrote, BEVs and ICE passenger vehicles production in Germany from 1957 to 2025. Blue is ICE and orange is BEVs. The production of electric vehicles rose sharply from 1.35 million in 2024 to 1.72 million in 2025. Almost 3/4 of these are BEVs, with the remaining being plug-in hybrids and hybrids. The problem is that German automakers don't make money with BEVs. But if you look at this chart, it's hard to understand how people can look at these facts and say EVs will never be the majority of the market. And in China, the biggest car market, the trend is even faster. But just look at this chart here. The drop in ICE and the rise in electric cannot be dismissed. We will soon have more EVs than ICE cars being produced in Germany as well. The transition is happening and at a very fast pace. And European car manufacturers are forced to pay billions of dollars because they do not meet their CO2 targets. What a surprise. As Alex reported, the industry benchmark threshold of 20% BEVs is necessary to comply with the emission limit set by the EU. The EU stipulates an average maximum CO2 emission of 93.6 grams per kilometer for new fleet vehicles in the period from 2025 to 2027. This value was originally intended for 2025 alone. There are slight variations depending depending on the vehicle segment, manufacturers of many heavier cars are allowed to achieve slightly higher values, while small car producers are subject to stricter requirements. The figures, according to S&P Global Mobility, are particularly disappointing for Stellantis, which includes brands such as Peugeot, Citroën, Opel and Fiat. The group had set itself a target of 21% BEV share by 2025, but only achieved 10.5% in the first 9 months. Volkswagen increased its BEV share from 9.8 to 16.8% year on year, but that is not enough either. German premium manufacturer Mercedes-Benz, on the other hand, is stagnating. The battery electric vehicle accounts for about 15% of its sales. BMW is the only company that exceeds the 20% threshold when plug-in hybrids are included, and as we now know, plug-in hybrids generate significant more CO2 than was originally assumed when the regulation was passed. If the calculations were correct, BMW would not exceed the 20% threshold either. Yes, and as I mentioned in other news shows, new study shows that hybrids emit 5 times as much as the first test claimed. So, since the share of BEV is not increasing for most European car manufacturers and is unlikely to do so by 2026, they will try to change the regulation, but so far the EU has proven resistant to the industry demands. Except, of course, taking the 2025 regulation and spreading it out from 2025 to 2027. But anyway, as Alex continued, a deal is a deal, and it is highly questionable why the regulation should be changed simply because they have not achieved what was previously agreed. The same applies to the 2035 regulation, which obligates them to sell only BEVs. Yes, they are not shifting fast enough to keep up with either the EU regulation or the EV demand. That is why the Chinese are more than happy to come and take some market share. They already have 11% of the BEV market share in Europe, and that is without factories on the continent producing cars. So they will have a disadvantage with the tariffs compared to the European car makers. But that is slowly starting to change this year, as BYD and others will have factories coming online in Europe by the end of this year. So they can try to fight the EU emission targets all they want, but the consumer is in the end the one that chooses. And we are seeing Norway already 100% BEVs, and Denmark following close with over 85% BEV market share in September, as Sweden is also getting some good momentum. So soon the European automakers will not be able to sell their polluting and noisy ICE car in all of Scandinavia. Not because of EU regulation, but simply because the customers want EVs more than ICE cars, as they are simply just a much better product, basically in every single way that matters in your daily life. But because the old guys are fighting it and trying to stop it, instead of going full speed ahead and trying to develop an EV that can actually compete with the likes of Tesla and the Chinese, they will not be ready for this shift that will happen, and faster than they are hoping and maybe even planning for. And they will lose out on a huge piece of the new car market. And I still hear people saying that BEVs are worse for the environment, even though we have so many studies showing the opposite from trusted organizations like Transport and Environment. But now we have yet another study that we can put in the piles of studies that shows the BEVs are better for the environment than ICE cars. A new study has found that EVs offset their energy-intensive production and became cleaner than gas cars after just 3 years, according to Duke and North Arizona University. Gas-powered vehicles are also found to cause a 2x as much environmental damage over their lifetime as EVs, and said the benefits of EVs can be expected to increase in incoming decades as cleaner sources of power such as solar and wind are brought into the grid. Yes, just like we see in Europe. While there is a bigger carbon footprint in the very short term because of the manufacturing process in creating the batteries for electric vehicles, very quickly you come out ahead in CO2 emission by year 3, and then all of the rest of the vehicle's lifetime you are far ahead, and so cumulatively much lower carbon footprint, said Drew Sindel, an earth science professor at Duke University and study co-author. Accelerating the adoption of battery electric vehicles is a key strategy to decarbonize the transportation sector, which will reduce future damage and cost of climate change. Yes, this should not come as a surprise for anyone following this channel anyway, as I have been talking about this since 2020 when Transport and Environment came out with their study back then, showing BEVs was much better for the environment than ICE over their lifetime. But this new study is for the US, so the energy generation from solar and wind is not as high as many countries here in Europe. So there is so much more to gain for the US. But the study from Transport and Environments from 2020, well, we can also see that the EU 27 countries, BEVs emits 63% less CO2 over their lifetime than ICE cars. But in 2025, the grid was about 35% greener compared to 2020, so it's even better today than what Transport and Environment showed in this report back in 2020. And back then, they also showed that because the rare earth metals that are in batteries that are making the most CO2 emission in production, well, they can be recycled over and over again. So when we are taking that into the calculation, ICE cars are using 300 to 400 times as many resources than a BEV, depending on if it's a diesel or a petrol car. 300 to 400 times more resources as well. Please let that one sink in. I did release my video about the materials we mined this week, so if you haven't seen that one, definitely go check that one out. But together with the emission target, BEVs are just the no-brainer, because when the next BEV is made from the recycled materials and not the materials dug up from the ground, the CO2 emission will be many times lower than what it is shown in this study. Anyone that still think that BEVs are worse for the environment is even very, very misinformed or simply not that smart. The evidence is as clear as the sun. BEVs are the way of the future that can run on green, renewable energy that can be recycled forever and therefore is part of the circular economy. And ICE cars, well, they are part of the dirty, polluting, cancer-creating, create and waste economy of the past. But while we are seeing BEVs are taking off and Tesla is setting new records in revenue and free cash flow, well, the legacy automakers and the Chinese are losing billions of dollars. As Alex reported, the Volkswagen Group posted a loss of 1 billion euros in Q3. A year earlier, the Wolfsburg-based company has posted a profit of $1.5 billion to its year down by $2.6 billion overall. Volkswagen profits plummet by more than 60% in its first 9 months, from 8.8 billion euros to 3.4 billion euros. The return on sales fell to 2.3%. In the same period last year, it had 5.4%. Net cash flow was down 47% year-over-year due to low cash flow from operating activities. The operating losses in the third quarter amount to 1.3 billion euros, the company announced Thursday morning. This is also due to the ramp-up of electric vehicles with lower margin, explained CFO Arno Antlitz. Or no margin, since they are losing billions of dollars not just on their EV business but overall. But as Alex continued, it is unbelievable that Volkswagen is now presenting BEVs as the reason for the group's poor performance instead of the fact that the company is unable to produce cost-effective BEVs due to its incredible complex and costly corporate and management structure, as well as the overcapacity and poor productivity. Yes, and don't forget that Tesla, that only makes BEVs, is profitable. and actually has some of the best margins in the car industry on mass-produced vehicles. So yes, this is just an excuse to how poorly their business is run and how far behind Tesla they truly are in manufacturing electric cars. But as Alex continued, the Volkswagen Group expect its sales revenue for 2025 to be in line with the previous year. The operating return on sales for the group is expected to be between 2 to 3%. With a margin of 2 to 3%, Volkswagen is neither in a position to finance the transition to BEVs nor to keep its business stable. The Volkswagen Group is in the midst of a massive crisis, and management has no strategy for how to get out of it. Things are going to get worse, and I expect another massive waves of layoff in addition to the 35,000 job cuts already announced by 2030. Yes, it really seems like Volkswagen doesn't really know how to get out of this crisis, and because they are losing money, they are cutting back on everything, including R&D, which they are in dire need for to come up with competitive EVs. That is the future of the car market. But even the Chinese are not really doing much better with BEVs than the Western automakers. We are still seeing that no one is even close of being true competition to Tesla, as AJ reported. BYD has lost a total of $10.3 billion year to date, according to their finance release today. The company reported a negative cash flow of $3.5 billion in Q3, bringing its total 2025 cash burn over the first 9 months to $10.3 billion. Excluding supplier financing, my research shows that BYD has never generated excess capital on a cumulative basis. In other words, the company remains lifetime cash flow negative. As he also shared, BYD generated less revenue than Tesla in Q3. BYD's revenue was $27.1 billion and was down 3% year on year. Tesla's revenue was $28.1 billion and was up 12% year on year. BYD's cash flow was negative $3.5 billion. Tesla's cash flow was positive $4 billion. So Tesla was $7.5 billion better in free cash flow than BYD in Q3. That is just an amazing achievement from Tesla. When we see the delivery numbers, as AJ also shared, BYD sold 1.1 million vehicles, Tesla sold 500,000 vehicles. Can you see why vehicle sales volume is a rather not smart metric? Yes, BYD sold twice as many cars in Q3, including the plug-in hybrids, of course, than Tesla, but did not even make more in revenue than Tesla, which really shows us what I have been showing you guys many times before. The BYD and Tesla is not truly in competition with each other, as BYD only sells affordable cars and Tesla only premium cars. Tesla has more revenue on half the vehicle volume. But more importantly, Tesla has a very healthy and record free cash flow of $4 billion, and BYD is bleeding $3.5 billion on their sales. So pretty good showcase that Tesla has figured out how to manufacture EVs profitably, and BYD has not. Tesla has a sustainable business, while BYD still doesn't. As I will bet, BYD has better margins on their plug-in hybrids than the BEVs, so they have no doubt a huge loss on their BEVs even today. So just like we saw in the early days of Apple's iPhone, Apple only had a small percentage of the smartphone market, but they actually had a 100% of the profit in the market at some point. And we see even today the iPhone has something like 20% market share and earns something like 80% of the profits. And the same is also true in the BEV market. Right now, Tesla has about 14% of the global BEV market, but sits with about 100% of the profits, as no one else is earning money on BEVs, but losing money. So it is still hard to talk about competition when one company sits on 100% of the profits in the industry. And let's squeeze in the last short news topics into this news show.
Yes, it's time for the Tesla Shorts.
Nick gave us a nice comparison that shows just how stupid hybrid vehicles are, as he wrote, hybrids are just the worst of both worlds. The Model Y performance drivetrain has 90% fewer parts than the BMW V8 hybrid. More complex, more weight, and more expensive. Yes, you heard that right. 90% fewer parts. Let that sink in. And SpaceX wrote, our fully autonomous bakery in Florida is set up to produce thousands of heat shields tiles per day to outfit the upcoming fleet of Starship vehicles. And Elon tuned in and wrote, world's most advanced bakery. Indeed. And I know you have probably seen posts about Tesla ordering Optimus hands from China's supply chain. But I just wanted to say I don't think that is true. Tesla would never let any other company make the whole hand for them. This is the most important piece of Optimus, and Tesla will keep it a secret as long as they can. So I think we are only looking at parts for the robot's hands from China supplier, as AJ wrote. Optimus parts order come in as expected. Media outlets across China have recently reported that Tesla has placed a $685 million order for linear actuators for Shanhu Intelligence Controls for the production of Optimus. The delivery of the actuators will likely start sometime in the first quarter of 2026. Volume will be enough for about 180,000 Optimus robots. Yes, Tesla is getting the very complex supply chain up and running for their very ambitious production goal with Optimus. And we had a little demonstration of Tesla being the safest car on Earth, space rocks included.
Andrew, do you feel lucky or unlucky?
Well, obviously unlucky that it happened to us, but I guess very lucky that we happened to be, really in the safest car on the road.
Andrew owns a Tesla, and that night he wasn't driving. The car was 110 k's an hour down the freeway, and when the window exploded, the car drove on, nice and steady. Tesla, the world's safest car in a meteor shower. And Andrew, you think that because the car was in this self-driving mode that it saved your life?
It certainly did, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because there was a period there where we were incapacitated with all this flying glass and smoke and just in total shock. And it was a really, really violent explosion. But while we were incapacitated, the car was quite happy to keep going on. It was amazing. So, yeah. Thank you, Tesla.
And I know there's still a lot of haters out there that think they know more about Tesla and running billion-dollar companies than Elon Musk, as Matthew wrote. Any other company would have fired Elon Musk years ago. But remember, this Tesla hater has been at it for years, as James also wrote. Like 6.5 years ago, when the growth story was over? Yes, the haters have been screaming about Tesla's doom for more than a decade, but Tesla is still alive and kicking and have just set a new all-time high in sales. I mean, how can people with such a bad track record still think they know better? Very impressive. And even the Japanese are impressed with Tesla's full self-driving supervised, as Tesla Chan wrote. Japanese Economic Daily Report's review of Tesla's full self-driving. As soon as I started, I came across a scene of pounding. When I tried to detour the intersection, a bicycle rushed at high speed from the rear right. The full self-driving quickly recognized and came to a seamless stop despite the whoa sound. I was surprised by Tesla's wide field of view. During the approximately 30-minute full self-driving test drive, human did not need to drive. The smoothness of acceleration and stopping was beyond human. Nice. And it seems like Japan will make it easier for someone like Tesla to roll out their full self-driving software in Japan. In a comment on X, former Tesla board member Hiro Mishono explained that the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism Ministry decision is no small matter, as it could pave the way for the smooth rollout of features like full self-driving to Tesla's customers in Japan. The Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism decision to allow retrofitting of autonomous driving through software update is significant. Currently, Tesla is the only manufacturer actively pursuing this, but I had thought if actual autonomous driving were to begin, it would be impossible to keep up if the approval process had to be separate for every software update. As a result, the decision will make it easier for all manufacturers to introduce autonomous driving in Japan, as he wrote on a post on X. Nice. And this should give Tesla some nice demand boost when the supervised full self-driving is approved, but even without it, Tesla is still doing extremely well in Japan. As Roland reported, for Japan, estimated 1,500 Tesla sales and 0.6% market share in September, BEV penetration is still only 2%, but Tesla sits with 32.8% of the segment. It was the best month ever, and Tesla was up 178% versus September last year. So it was the best month ever, the best quarter ever. Year to date is up 99% over the same period last year. So not bad at all. And Kia and Tesla topped the list in Sweden's study of strongest EV batteries. KVD Bil initiated a test of 1,300 used BEV and plug-in hybrids to determine which model retained the best battery capacity over time. The Kia EV6, e-Niro and Tesla Model Y was the best. Nice. And Sydney EV shared that EVs sales in Australia are now over 10%, at 11.3% of total Australian market. So the collapse they all talked about, again, as usual, didn't happen. Yes, EVs just keeps climbing. And Apple is apparently in talks with SpaceX to bring Starlink satellite service to future iPhones. Starlink will be able to broadcast directly to your mobiles. There will be no dead zones. Your phone will still work even if there is no cell towers. That would be a very cool partnership if this becomes a reality. And James also wrote, to reach any of the 12 tranches in his proposed 2025 CEO stock compensation package, Elon Musk would need to grow Tesla's market cap by $0.6 trillion. Literally an order of magnitude more than any other auto CEO has in 50 years. And we still have people saying this is too easy for Tesla. But no one else has ever done this. And Starlink shared that 5 years ago today, Starlink connected our first paying customers with high-speed, low-latency internet from space. Today, Wendy and Sean are joined by over 7 million people across 150 countries, territories, and markets staying connected with Starlink. Thank you to all our customers.
Maples are looking beautiful.
I'm Wendy Layer. I live in Sandpoint, Idaho, and we are the first Starlink customers.
With Starlink, we didn't have to compromise on where we live due to the lack of technology.
The minute they turned it on, we could stream a movie, we could video chat, we could play games on the internet without a lot of lag. I changed jobs earlier this year, so now I actually have the ability to work remote.
Here's my house. The program runs on the cloud. I can send anything I want out to get prices and designs.
I like to bake, so I've been able to research recipes and try new things.
Good day, go for a walk.
Good day for a walk.
We can live very rural, and yet we are connected to anybody like in the city.
And Elon Musk replied to this post from Omar saying the tweet as Huck responded to that got him hired at Tesla, and Elon posted, a tweet post is how I initiate a dozen or so startups that constitute Tesla. Tesla has made very few acquisitions. Our growth is 90% organic. We didn't play to our core strength. We created core strengths from nothing. Yes, Tesla is just a very different company to basically everyone else. And Tesla wrote, 15 years ago, we opened Fremont Factory. Today, the Fremont team is producing all the 4 sexy models, totaling 3.6 million vehicles made so far, 20,000 plus Californian jobs created with billions of dollars invested. Yes, after GM declared bankruptcy in 2008, the NUMMI factory was shut down, laying off thousands of employees on the basis that it did not make business sense to operate a plant in California. Well, Tesla proved all that wrong and is now profitable, while every other car maker is still trying to figure out how to make BEVs profitable. And let's end with some good vibes here from this lovely woman.
I just want to say I have driven a minivan from 1990 to August of 2025. That was like 5 weeks ago. And I really can't believe that I'm in a Tesla. And I can't believe that this car is driving itself. I'm going on the interstate 64, going 68 miles an hour after going to Costco and Trader Joe's. I just can't believe this is my life. And this car makes me so happy. It gives me life back. I mean, I went to the mountains last night to do watch the sunset. I wouldn't have done that in my van. My van was 11 years old. I'm just, I'm not a religious person, but I am blessed to be able to get this car. And I only got it because there was a rebate of $7,500. And I almost didn't get it because my husband has a 3, and the 3 is too low for me. I have bad knees. But I have the Y. It's like an SUV, I guess. It's higher up. So,
in 1 mile, take exit.
I just want to tell you, if you're hesitant, you got to try it out. I don't know why it's going over now, because I'm in chill mode, and we have to go back over on the right-hand side in like a mile. But it's doing it. It's doing it, people. I love this. You got to try it. Don't be scared. Go ride a Tesla. Try it, and you're not going to want to go back to gas.
And before we end off with a bit of fun, I just want to make a quick shout out to my newest supporters of this channel. My new YouTube members, Jack Williams and Martin Boshika. And Martin is not just a new member, he has been a member for 47 months, but has now upgraded to become a Best in Tesla superhero. Thank you so much, Martin, for your continued support. Much, much appreciated. Yes, thank you so much for all the support to all the supporters of this channel. Everyone that has been here for a day, a week, a month, or even years. Thank you. I literally could not keep this shop open if it wasn't for you guys. But let's end off with a bit of fun. This is a little example of how people are on social media. Big and tough when they're not face to face with the other person. It's a different story when they meet them in real life. That is all we have time for in this news show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. It really does help this video out a lot so others can find it on YouTube. And if you did like it, maybe you want to consider hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, so you don't miss out on future videos just like this one. And if you're already a subscriber to the channel, thank you so much for the support. But if you want to support the channel even more, remember you can, for as little as $1, become a patron of this channel, or become a member of the YouTube channel to get a shout out as some extra perks like early access, ad-free versions of my videos, exclusive videos. So hit the members button or check out Patreon to find out more. And don't forget to follow me on X. I post pretty much all the news as it comes out and a lot more. And check out the merch store to get some merchandise and support the show. It is also possible to support the show without becoming a member or a patron. There is a donation option down below or on my website bestintesla.com. You can also become an executive producer and get news articles, exclusive videos, behind the scenes, and access to all my research charts and spreadsheets also on bestintesla.com, or as simple as hitting the super like button. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.